Hi, welcome to the Interviews with the Hunting Masters, brought to you by Phoenix Shooting Bags. And this week we're going to do something a little different. We're going to talk about shed hunting. And I got a guy that's kind of been an up-and-comer on the Instagram scene. Looks like he's been cleaning house and picking a bunch of sheds up. And I just, I'm interested. I'm always interested in see how guys approach things and how they do things. And shed hunting for me is not something I've ever been good at or really spent a whole lot of time doing, except for if I was looking for a specific animal in a specific area, and I just utilize it as a tool. So I like to talk to these guys that kind of do it, for a living almost. So I got Weston MacArthur on, aka Wes James. What's going on, man? How are you?
Not much, man. Just it's a beautiful Tuesday morning. I have work off for the morning, so I guess that's always a plus. And
Oh
I got
yeah.
to do my very first podcast ever. So I'm kind of nervous, kind of excited, and I hope what I have to say helps people out and I don't sound like an idiot, but we'll run with it.
All right, sounds good, man. I'm sure you'll be fine. I tell everybody just, it's just two guys bullshitting on the phone about hunting. So,
And I'm always down for that. Love that conversation.
um, well, tell me a little bit about yourself and what you do, and how
All
you
right.
got into all
Well,
this.
I was born and raised in West Jordan. I attended Dixie State College. I went and played a little bit of football there, more or less was on the practice team. So I was just like a scout team kind of bitch. And then I worked at a car wash at Fabulous Freddy's, and I met my beautiful wife Jess there. I actually lied to her the very first time I ever spoke to her to get her to go out with me, so that was cool. And I've always grown up in the outdoors. My first actually passions were football, baseball, and basketball. That's something that I'm still passionate about. I love watching the Utah Jazz because I'm from Utah. Oakland Raiders, that's my football team, and the
Mhm.
Atlanta Braves in baseball. And I grew up just watching those guys like Chipper Jones, and my dad was just a huge Raiders fan, and Bo Jackson was his boy. And so I grew up watching that and just seeing those athletes and how they prepared. I kind of wanted to mimic that. And I mean, I'm not sure I did the best job, but I tried anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've always been passionate about the outdoors, though. Kind of how I got started in it. My dad and my grandpa. Well, let me go back. I have a stepdad, and my real dad passed away when I was 17.
Oh,
But I was
sorry to hear that.
fortunate enough to, like, my real dad. He's the one that kind of raised me into who I am today. I mean, my stepdad is the one who raised me into who I am today. My real dad, I kind of just got to see on the weekends. It was more of a best friend relationship, I guess you could say.
Hmm.
And on the weekends, we'd go out, and he owned a little bird farm, pheasant farm. He raised roosters and hens and chuckers. And on the weekends, we'd go out. He'd plant the birds, and I'd just get to see people shoot them. And sometimes I got to shoot them. And so I grew up with small game that way. And then my dad, well, my stepdad and my grandpa, we have a cabin up in Salina, and that's just where everything got started. Just got me into the outdoors. I've always just been passionate about the animals and the conditions they live in and how majestic and just durable they can be, and
Oh yeah,
I think it's awesome.
absolutely. I think a lot of people share that same view. It's kind of like a mutual respect thing,
Oh, for
and
sure.
how they can survive in what they do.
Yep.
Um, so you've been killing it, man. I mean, if your Instagram feed is any indication of that, you're looks like you've been cleaning house.
Dude, I've it's all luck. That's all I can say is I kind of have a basic understanding of where animals like to live during the winter months, and I'm lucky. That's all I can say about it is I have a positive
Nah.
mindset, and I get out there and I try to put as many miles down as I can. I glass a lot, and I'm just a Saturday warrior. I do all my shed hunting on Saturdays for the most part. During the week, I'm an excavator. I work in a little mini X, and then Saturday's my day to get out, and Sunday's church and for the wife. and we just, I feel it's important to prioritize your time,
Hmm.
and I just live life that way.
That's awesome, man. Well, give me a little rundown, like how you approach your season. You
Okay.
know, if you even
Well,
look at it, shed hunting as a season, or if it's like a,
dude,
is
I
it
do it
like a
all year
whole
long,
all
so
year long? So yeah.
yeah.
Well,
But how I kind of start is I have three or four main areas that I've been really successful in. And from there, I've kind of just branched out and I go around to the surrounding areas. I only may go a couple miles away from where I've been really successful. I look for the big three: food, shelter, water. And I find a lot of sheds in all those areas, whether they're feeding or they're going back to their bedding or they're going to water, whatever the case may be. I mean, depending on where you live, is kind of the type of terrain that you need to
mhm,
look for, and the type of, I mean, the certain elevation is key as well.
cool. Um, so you said you shed hunt year round. I mean,
Yes.
you don't. I'm trying to think what I'm trying to say here. So obviously, certain times of year are better than others.
Yes, for sure.
You know, there's definitely
Hmm.
a lot less of them out there after they've been picked over and started growing horns already again.
Yep.
And so when quote unquote shed season comes around, like what goes into your planning for that? I mean, or is it
Like I said, there's three or four main areas that I actually hit, and I try to hit those during brown season, is what we like to call
right?
it. And brown season is different for moose, deer, and elk. Moose typically lose their antlers between December and February. Deer are more January to March, and elk are March to the beginning of May. I've seen some bulls pack into like May 8th, I think is the latest I've ever
Really?
seen a bull
That's
pack.
crazy.
Yeah.
The opposite over
So
here.
what's that?
In Arizona, it's the opposite. The deer pack way longer than the
Oh,
elk.
really?
Yeah, elk drop. You know, March.
Yeah, and I
And
would say
deer
March
carry all the way through.
is, yeah, I'd
Yeah,
say March is a pretty prime time because that's when the elk are starting and the deer have mostly dropped depending on what area you live in. And I would say, I guess, the if we're looking at a sports standpoint, I
hmm,
guess March and April are like the playoffs and the World Series, the finals,
right.
whatever you want to call it. And I feel because that's just fresh drop antlers, and there's nothing like walking up on a big brownie with a bloody base, and
Oh yeah.
it's kind of cool though. Like just you wonder with well, for me anyway, with every antler I pick up, I always try to think like, what was this animal doing? What was it thinking? Like how
Hmm.
many, predator attacks has it survived through, or hunters, or whatever the case may be. And I think that is so cool, is that every antler that you pick up is unique to yourself. Like only you can have that antler unless you give it away or
Right, right.
sell it or whatever the case may be, but it's every single one is unique to you, and I love that aspect about shed hunting.
Yeah, no, that's cool. That's a cool way to look at it. Um, so when you're going into a new area, like how do you do any scouting? Do you do any like preparation? What do you
Well,
do to choose a shed hunting area anyway? Well, you kind of mentioned you look for the big three you said, but
mhm. um, well, I guess I don't really scout that much, and people always say like, how do you find these sheds? Because you don't scout. It's luck. It really is just luck and having a certain understanding of where animals live. And I'm back and forth between St. George a lot,
mhm,
and that's about 4 hours away from where I live. And while I'm driving, especially during shedding months, if I'm seeing animals off the side of the road, that makes me want to go hike that area. And if
right.
I'm seeing animals in January, February, March in certain places, that's where I'm going to go look to find sheds.
So you are scouting, you just don't know you are.
It pretty much, yeah, I guess you could put it that way for sure. And
Yeah.
see, and that's the thing about shed hunting too, is I drive my wife nuts, but everywhere I drive, I'm like, I bet there's sheds in there. I'll
Yeah.
look at a certain area. like a certain sagebrush bench or a big bowl with a lot of quakies and junipers, pines, whatever the case may be, and I'll just look at it and I'm like, there's sheds in there. And I feel it is just a lot of experience helps out too, and knowing kind of what to look for. But just for anybody that's starting out, like I said, look for the animals in those certain months and then hike those surrounding areas. They're going to be in the area. They don't
Hmm.
move that far, especially if there's a lot of snow. They're going to be at the snow line and they're going to be down a little bit lower so they can feed. And then like elk typically move with the snow line. So if you're around and you're kind of paying attention where the snow line is throughout the whole month of January, February, March, however much it snows, that's where you're going to find the sheds.
Hmm.
And just look for the animals, look for sign. Uh, I mean, out in the desert, those things can be anywhere. Like they go wherever they please.
Right.
And so I do like to look for sign if there's a lot of traffic in an area, a lot of rubs, a lot of poop, whatever. I love that. And I'll stick in an area much longer if I see a lot of sign. If I'm going into an area and I'm not seeing much sign, I get discouraged and I move
Right.
areas.
Right. Yeah, shed hunting in the desert's tough.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I mean, especially if you're not keeping tabs on the animals prior to them dropping. Like, if you find a decent, let's say mule deer or whatever, a decent herd or a few herds in an area, and they're there most of the winter or they're there the whole winter or whatever, and into spring, yeah, you can pretty much guess that their antlers are going to be there eventually
Oh yeah,
once they start dropping.
for sure.
Um, but those areas, I think, where there's migration, I think those are the easiest areas,
Oh yeah,
because then
definitely.
there's like you said, you can follow the snow line. There's other indicators of where animals would be
Yep.
versus just anywhere they want to be. Um, so when you go into one of these areas, what's your starting point? How do you attack? Like, so you chose this area because it has, water, cover, food, whatever, and it's in the right spot for the right time of year. How do you attack that area?
Um, I also do a lot of Google Earthing, and so when
Okay.
I'm doing that, I look for an area that doesn't have a lot of roads and a lot of access into that certain spot. And so from there, I look for the deepest, darkest, just nastiest stuff when I first start it into an area, and I'll hike that first because I feel a lot of people, I mean, I'm not saying I'm a great shed hunter or anything like that, but a lot of people typically stick to the easy areas.
Hmm.
And I like to go into the deepest, darkest, just nasty stuff. And I feel I've had a lot of success that way. But
Hmm.
then there's a lot of stuff that gets overlooked where people will drive by and they're like, no, like it's next to a road or
Right.
like everybody else can hit that and it looks good and so they won't hit it. But some of the times that's overlooked and I'll hit those type of areas too. You kind of just have to get there and see for yourself what you really want to hike.
Right. Okay.
But I mean, like I said, if I go to an area and I'm deep in there and I'm not seeing much sign, I'm going to move areas.
Okay.
If I'm seeing a lot of sign, I'm going to do a lot of zigzagging. I'm going to do circles. I'm going to just put as much boot tracks on the ground. And glassing is so crucial.
Hmm.
And I honestly probably spot up 40% of the sheds that I find.
Okay. I've never even, what? I mean, I've glassed up sheds, but that's why I was glassing for elk or deer or whatever.
Yeah.
Just happened to see a chalk out there, but I've never, I shouldn't say, no, I don't think I've ever actually physically gone to go and glass for sheds. Again, like I never really took it all that serious. Only because if I had another hobby, to me,
Hmm.
that's like, my wife is really going to freaking divorce me and leave me, you know?
Yeah.
It just is there's another time consuming thing. But, before I got married, I spent some time shed hunting. And again, it was mainly to get an inventory of what was still alive out there. And I didn't do it, to sell horns or even just to have them for myself. But I, I could see how that could be real, especially in those areas with a lot of open faces or whatever, where they, elk or deer might come out and feed and get some sun during the wintertime or whatever. I can see that being a really good tactic.
See,
Um,
and even with what you said about your wife, my wife is seriously my biggest supporter. And I'm so thankful that she understands that I'm passionate about the outdoors
yeah,
and she gives me my Saturdays. And to me, if you don't have a big support system, especially being married, I mean,
right.
it'd be different if you're single and you have a girlfriend, you can do whatever the hell you want. But once you
Yeah.
get married, you're kind of tied down. You have responsibilities, certain priorities. But I can't thank my wife enough. She's awesome. She lets me do what I want to do. And with this whole rise and shed thing, I have certain goals that I want to meet, and she backs me 100%. And so I feel just having that backup system and that support is also a big help in what I do as well.
Yeah. No, it's super important. I mean, my wife, I mean, she puts up with a lot of shit and she supports me in a lot of stuff. I mean, I spend, 100 plus days a year in the field. So,
Damn.
um, she holds down the fort for
There you
sure.
go.
And she, you know, like I said, puts up with a lot. So that's why I don't ask her to put up with even more to do the shed hunting.
There you go.
If I can go with the family, take the family and go and, um, take her too as well, whatever. Just then it's a different story. Then we're just together, something to do. But um, anyway, I had a question I was going to ask you, and I wrote it. I should have wrote it down when I was thinking of it. Now I forgot. Um, so we talked about. It wasn't really a question. It was kind of a statement what I was going to make. We were talking about your starting point. You said you just kind of look at it and you see what you want, look for the nasty stuff, and kind of go for it. And my mentality, and maybe it's just because I live out in the desert, but and I would like to ask you if you thought this is. I used to go to water holes and start at the water hole and then kind of make circles out from the water hole.
Gotcha.
Um, do you do anything like that? Is there, you know,
Well,
basically what I'm
definitely.
trying to figure out is it's kind of hard for guys who are listening to this to say, walk up to a, whatever, a big basin or, big drainage and say, okay, I'm going to go walk that because that looks nasty or whatever. Like, I'm kind of looking for maybe some more rules of thumb, like, or, something that kind of gives somebody a little bit more of a starting point or a direction, so to speak.
Well, I guess your best starting point is to find the animals during those certain months when they're shedding. I think that is the most crucial thing that you could do. I mean, granted, I get lucky, like I said. If you can actually find the animals and do that scouting, like you said, keep tabs on them. I have a buddy that I just interviewed on my own channel. His name's Chad Hendricks. The man is up there every morning watching these moose. And that's how he's so successful at picking up moose sheds is he goes up there in the morning before work and he's keeping tabs on these animals. And so when he notices there's a couple bulls that are missing sheds, damn right, he's going up in there and he's going to go find their sheds because he knows exactly where they have been. And so I feel that is probably your best starting point is finding the animals during the shedding months. But if you're going in there and like say late into the season,
Mm-hmm.
your best bet is to just put miles down hiking and trying to look for sign. And like I said, sign is crucial to me anyway. In the spots that I mean the spots that I actually hike around my house and stuff like that, I'm looking for as much sign as possible, and I'm following game trails even sometimes. And I get lucky with following the game trails, and there'll be a shed in the middle of a trail. And once I find one shed, that's when I start circling. That's when I start doing more zigzags.
Okay.
And then, depending on the areas that I do hike, more of a desert feel is once I find a shed, I'm still kind of just, I have a destination point and I hike to it. And if I don't find anything, I don't find anything. I just go somewhere else. And it's all about just the miles and the time you put in is how you're going to find sheds.
Right.
It honestly is just you have to do it in order to understand it.
Okay. Are there any like structural or landscape features or anything like that that you like try to focus your efforts on? Like,
Definitely. I look for sagebrush benches
okay,
at right elevation. Typically, I find deer sheds between 6 and 8,000 feet, and then I find elk sheds around, depending on the area, 65 to 8,500 feet.
okay,
And so it's easy for me because I know the snow level where I live, and I can see where it's been throughout the certain months, and then that's where I go hike, and it kind of just is easy that way.
okay. So mainly looking for, or for benches and stuff like that. That's something where
Yep, where they're
deer and
feeding,
elk
and
will
then
congregate to feed.
yep, exactly. And that's huge. Just find out where they like to go and where they live and just keep putting in the time to actually find them. Like there's certain areas that I've hit multiple times and I've come out multiple times skunked.
Yeah.
But then through searching through those skunk hikes, I've lucked into what we call honey holes that
Hmm.
hold a lot of sheds. And it's all just by trial and error. I have like a checklist of certain areas that I want to go hit and I'll go hike them, and it's almost like a little, I guess, journal. And you write down the snow level, you write down the elevation that you were hiking and how many sheds you found, brown, chalk, hard white, whatever the case may be. And you can kind of judge from year to year where the animals have been and where they're not going.
That's smart. Um, what would you suggest to somebody to improve their shed hunting success? Like, what are like stuff that I didn't ask questions about? Go ahead and like give us
Well,
whatever knowledge you think is useful for.
um, I want to say this though, like shed hunting is not a competition. I'm not competing
But
against anybody, like Antler Trader, Shed
but it
Crazy,
is.
all those guys. Like there's no competition. What's the competition? I don't get a trophy at the end of the day. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah,
guess your
you do.
trophy would be the sheds that you found, but at the same time, it's like who cares? You're out doing something that you love, that you're passionate about. Like you're out there because you love the outdoors, and to me, that is crucial. And for somebody coming into it, don't take it as competition. Just
Hmm.
do you and go about your life that way. Um,
But
but
that's social media. And I'll let you finish first, and we'll go back to that.
it is, and it is, and that's the thing though, is like I'm not concerned with what everybody else is finding. Like I love to look at them, and that's what the whole reason I even started a YouTube channel is because I loved watching the YouTube channels where people were picking up sheds and killing animals and taking these awesome big trophies. Like I started reading Muley Crazy forums back in the
Hmm.
day, and then the Eastman Journal and all that, and that's I loved seeing that, and so I thought for myself, like, hey, maybe somebody would like to see my adventures and what I find and stuff. And that's kind of what started the whole YouTube sensation for me is
Hmm.
I love watching other people do it. Maybe other people might like watching what I do. And to
Right.
me, like it's not a competition. It's just fun. It's something I'm passionate about and something that I love to do.
Yeah.
Um, but in shed hunting, like in general too, glassing. Get to a good vantage point where you can see a lot of land and the layout of the land, and get to a vantage point and glass as much as possible. Like I can't stress that enough. And even when I move 100 yards, I can get a different angle at something
Hmm.
and I can see it from a different angle. And I glass so much. It's kind of funny. Like some of the people I go out with, they'll be 1,000 yards up in the hill, and I'm still down at the bottom because I'm picking apart this side hill or whatever the case may be, or sagebrush flat.
Hmm.
And I just think getting high up in elevation and getting a good vantage point and seeing as much as you can see, go from there. And that's the thing too. I guess I should mention this. With snow, the north facing slopes, you tend to have a lot more snow, so there's
Right.
not much feed that they can feed on. And like they're not going to want to battle out with the snow. They're going to go where it's dry and they can have easy pickings of what they want to eat. And so I tend to stick to south facing slopes. That's where I've had a lot of success. And I'm not saying that you're not going to find sheds on north facing or west
Oh
facing
yeah,
slopes. I
they
just
could be
tend to
anywhere.
have more success on southeast facing slopes.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. You know that it kind of you brought up when you were saying about the glassing and stuff. I always look at it. Everything I do has to, but everything I do, I like to look for the secondary benefits of it, so to speak. You know, I only have so much time afield or whatever to spend, and I try to utilize everything. So when you said that, it made me think, what an awesome way for you to hone your skills. One, glassing.
Yeah.
Looking for bedded deer because you're looking for an antler that's in a
Yep.
bush or whatever. And two, pinpointing where that antler is, and of course you're not stalking it, but going to find where it's at. Like
Yeah.
remember, because a lot of people, and even myself included, when I go on a stalk, how many times you find yourself, shit, am I in the right spot? Like,
Yeah, definitely.
you get over across the basin or whatever, and you're like, man, this looks so different over there, and you have a hard time,
Definitely.
and I feel like that's a really good way to hone that skill in of putting yourself where you need to be, and even harder because of an antler is a lot smaller than a 200-pound muley.
And it's not
So
gonna move.
right, yeah. But yeah, I think that's I like you kind of just put that in perspective for me when you were saying that, and I was like, oh, that might that's kind of a cool way to hone the skills in the off season.
Yeah, definitely. Dude, now that you say this, shed hunting has actually made me a better hunter.
Oh
It's
yeah.
made me understand the animals better. And just like you said, I like to. So if I'm glassing across a ridge and I do spot a shed, I'm
Hmm.
looking at the surrounding areas where I'm picking out either a big pine tree or I'm picking out some deadfall or something like that. And that kind of gives me a starting point of where that shed is going to be. Because definitely, I've had times where I spent an hour where I spotted up a shed from a long ways away, and I spent an hour just doing circles because I know it's around here. It's just I
Yeah.
couldn't find it because you're right. Like the terrain changes when you actually get over there.
Right.
Because some oak brush that you think, it's not that thick. No, you get over there and it sucks ass. And it's
Right.
way thick and you don't know where you're at.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I mean, shed hunting really it started. Well, I think it started off as people looking for sheds to make tools and stuff like that. But it from the today's day and age hunter, you know, back when we were kids, like people looked for sheds because there was very little value in them back then. Um, I think people did it for a way to figure out where to go to hunt, where to find animals to keep, just another reason to get out. And I think it's just a cool way for the off season to continue on your hunting, to continue honing your skills.
definitely.
You know, whatever. It's
Yeah,
like if it makes you happy, do it. Like you were saying.
exactly.
Um, I did want to circle back to that whole competition thing that you were saying, and I was kind of being funny and saying, yeah, it is, but um, and they've done a lot of research on this. Social media makes people feel bad about themselves.
Yeah,
Um, you know, you post a picture and you always keep going. How many likes did I get? How many likes? And if you don't get a bunch of, even myself now, like I I find myself doing it all the time. Like, what the freak? How come this picture right here is not getting? How is it that I have 22,000 uh, followers on Instagram, and I don't have 200 likes. I only got 200 likes on this picture, and it eats at you. And they've made it as such. Like Facebook, genius. Okay, it's genius because it plays on that fact that you're going to feel bad that you're not getting likes or that you're not getting the traffic or the comments or whatever on that whatever your post is, and it makes you go buy it. Makes you
Yeah.
go buy more likes. Oh, I want
Yeah.
more people to see this.
And see, and
And there it just creates competition. And so you post a picture, holding two, 380 bull sheds or whatever, and it makes people like, shit, man, I wish I was out there doing that. I hate this guy. I like this guy, but I hate this guy because he's got the life that, and a lot of people don't understand what, you only put, when people are only putting the good stuff out there, like you're not sharing oh, I just went to work today. I just went to work today. I just went to work today. But you
yeah,
only share Saturday because
yeah.
Saturday I'm out here picking up sheds. Like people, it sets a certain personas or a certain portrayal or whatever you want to call it of who you are and what you do, but they don't understand that 6 days out of the week or 5 days out of the week you're busting your ass so that you could go do that on Saturday. And it's
See,
just
and
like, yeah, go ahead.
that's
Go
funny
ahead.
you say that because I do have people that will DM me and they're like, "What do you do for a job?" And it's like, "Do you just sit there and hike all day?" And it's like, "No, I actually do have a job. I do make an income off what I do." And it is just funny how people will judge you and they don't even know you. Like I have
Yeah.
people hate on me and I'm like, "Dude, I've never met you a day in my life. How do you,
Oh,
make a perception
welcome
on
to
a
my
certain
world,
person?"
buddy.
Yeah. Well, see, that's what I'm talking about. It's like
Yeah.
that's so stupid.
Yeah.
Like if you want to judge me and say and talk shit, meet me in person and shake my hand and then tell me how you feel about me.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of how I go about life is my mom was so crucial about treating people the way you want to be treated. And I live my life like that. And I feel I have a pretty good head on my shoulders. I'm a positive person. And anything negative that's ever happened in my life, I take it as a learning experience and try to better myself and learn from those mistakes and continue to do that every single day. And it's crazy. Like, I'm not a big reader at all, and I've been reading a lot more lately, and I feel like I've kind of put my time into things that are more important rather than Netflix
Hmm.
and chill or whatever. And don't get me wrong, I'll watch my YouTube because there's people I like to follow and I love to see them grow as a person, not just in the shed hunting world or whatever. Like I love to see people progress and I
Yeah.
love like even for yourself, I would love to know your backstory and see where you've gone and the leaps that you've made and the sacrifices you've made to put you in the position you're in right now. I mean, like, even for me, I'm on a podcast with John Stallone right now talking about something that I'm passionate about and that I love. Like, what? Like, I never thought in a million years, like, people would be interested in what I had to say. And I mean,
Yeah.
I've always had the mindset of I'm better than what I'm doing right now.
Uh-huh.
And if I could ultimately, like, seriously, my biggest goal with this whole Rise and Shed thing, if I could ultimately build this up and be able to give back to my community or like give West Jordan High School all new sports program, uniforms, everything, and just do stuff that way. Like I look up to the Hush guys so much, like Eric Casey and BMAC, like those guys are so awesome to me that they quit their jobs, their 9 to 5, and
Hmm.
now they are doing something that they love and they're giving back to the community. I mean, they had a movie night and gave back what, $23,000 to primary children's.
That's
How
awesome.
freaking cool is that? Like to be
Yeah.
able that you can, follow your dream and live your passion and yourself included. Like that's my ultimate goal. I want to give back. That's what I'm here to do. Like I want to help people out. I'm an open book. I want to
That's awesome.
share passion. I want to be that positive person. Like when people go to my page or my YouTube channel, I don't want any negativity on there. I want people to be positive. Like I want people to
Yeah.
know that, I'm heading in a direction and nothing's going to stop me. Like even though yeah, I work a 9 to 5 Monday through Friday, but I want to get to the point where this whole Rise and Shed or wherever the case may be
Hmm.
overtakes that 9 to 5 job and I'm living my passion. I'm living my dream, and I'm serious. I envy people like you. I think it's so awesome. And, like I said, I'm on a podcast right now talking about shed hunting and talking about something that I love. So I think it's awesome.
Well, I mean, to be perfectly honest with you, I mean, this is no secret out there. I have a 9 to 5. I own a swimming pool company. Um, you know, and without it, I wouldn't be able to do what I do. It affords me the ability to hunt as much as I do, to do the TV show when I was doing the TV show, and do the podcast and all that stuff. Hunting is very difficult to, very few people get to do with what the Hush guys are doing. And living just from it, unless you become an outfitter, and then you're hunting because you're hunting, and that's your business. Um, but it's awesome that I get to do it as often as I do, and
Yeah.
it pays for my my hunting excursions and all that stuff, and my gear and everything else. So it's awesome in the fact that I get to do it a lot more. But be careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
Once it becomes a job, a lot of the awesomeness of it goes out the door. Take it from me. I
Yeah.
mean, my wife sees me stress out a lot because I'm constantly trying to produce content, meet deadlines, do this, do that, and just like anything else, it takes away from it. I think right now I envy you because you're in that place where everything's exciting. You're getting to do what you want to do, and you're getting some recognition for it. You're getting, it's really great when you're in that stage
See,
of this.
it is, because I mean, dude, I know followers and subscribers, they help you out with, a brand that you want to grow or something like that. But at the end of the day, it's a freaking number. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like,
Oh yeah.
I'm not going to be remembered by how many followers I have or how many
Mm,
subscribers or anything like
no.
that. No, I'm going to be remembered by the good deeds that I did in life. And like, I want, when I meet new people, I want to leave an impression on them. Like, that's a good person right there. Like, I
Right.
can trust that person. I respect that person. And I'm huge on that. And at the end of the day, like, I do want to be known for not just Wes James, the shed hunter or something like that. No, I want to be known as Weston MacArthur.
Yeah.
He's a good person. He did the
All
best
around
he
good
could,
dude. Yeah.
Yeah. And it is fun to see the numbers grow. Don't get me wrong. Like,
Oh yeah.
with what I want to do, you kind of have to have those numbers grow in order to be noticed or get your name out there or something like that.
Hmm.
But for me, it's awesome, and I've shared this on my YouTube channel. I had a gentleman, his name's Dalton Morgan, and it was so cool because I got to work at the Hunt Expo at the Camo Fire booth, and he
Okay.
came up to me and he's like, "Dude, you're my role model. Like, I love what you do." And what? Like, I'm me. I'm Weston.
Right.
Like, to have somebody come up and say that, and that I've changed their life and I've helped them better themselves and help them go after their dreams and aspirations. To me, man, that's freaking awesome. Like, I couldn't ask
Yeah.
much more than that. And that's kind of what I started this whole YouTube channel for, is because I want I want to help people. I want
Hmm.
to see people succeed. I want to motivate people to get out in the hills, because I do
Right.
feel there's a lot of people that don't have that experience. And I feel it is so important to be in tune with yourself and be in tune with nature and stuff, and being out in the woods. Like, I don't know. I just know for myself, my kids will be raised out in the outdoors. Like, no matter what,
That's
they're going
awesome.
to go hunting. Like, until they can make their own damn decision and make their own money and stuff and live under my house, like, I want them to experience the outdoors. I want them to fish. I want them to hunt. I want them to go on nature hikes, whatever the case may be. And to me, it's so important. And I feel it's almost kind of like a lost pastime. And
Hmm.
a lot of people just sit on the couch and watch TV, and I mean, don't get me wrong, there are definitely people that go out and do those things, but there
Oh
are
yeah.
definitely a lot that don't. And to me, if I can motivate somebody and help change their life for the better at the end of the day, I'll take that as a win every day.
That's awesome, man. I love your outlook on it. Like, let me tell you, that kid that came up to you, that never gets old. That's actually what it fuels me to keep doing what I do.
Yeah.
on a day-to-day basis is the fact that I get those comments. I get people that approach me and say, "Oh, hey man, I want to thank you because I love listening to your podcast, or I love watching your stuff, or whatever. You're inspirational, da 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 da." Like that, that's like more fuel. It's like
Definitely.
steroids for me, man. It's like
Yeah.
that's what gets me jacked up and going. Because for me, like, I'm not getting rich at this. We already kind of covered that. I I do it because I want to leave my mark in the world, and when I'm gone, I want my kids to be able to go back and say he was a good father, he was a good person, he did so much in the world, that helped, hunting industry, whatever. I want to leave my mark, and
Definitely.
um, I I couldn't I couldn't keep doing what I do if I just focused on the negative shit that comes,
Oh
because
yeah.
there's a lot, man.
Oh
And
yeah.
the more popular you get, um, you're gonna get a lot of assholes. You will.
Oh yeah. See,
If
and I
you're
love
you're
what
already getting that now, but it only takes that one person to send you that message, say, man, thank you for doing what you do. You're an inspiration. I look up to you, whatever, and that wipes out 20 assholes. You know what I'm saying?
oh
It's like,
definitely. Well,
yeah.
see, and it even kind of makes you question yourself at the end of the day too. It's like I need to be better, Like
Hmm.
when people come up and tell you like thank you for all you do, you kind of judge yourself and it's like, damn, like people really are paying attention, Like I want to be a better person. It really does fuel the fire of wanting to be better.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It is cool. Like what I was gonna say with Cam Haines too.
Hmm.
I saw the one thing where he said, you know, a guy approached him and said, "This guy gets more crap in the hunting world than anybody." Blah blah blah. But then he turned around and he's like, "Yeah, I may get a lot of crap, but I get a lot of love too."
Yeah.
And to me, like that's the ultimate. Like
Oh, yeah.
having people just tell you and recognize what you do. It's so awesome.
No, for sure. Well, cool, man. I wanted to ask you if you could share with us a hunting story, maybe something, maybe your most memorable hunt, or something that was like you learned something about hunting. It could be shed hunting, could be regular, just plain old hunting. Uh,
Gotcha.
yeah.
Well, the one off the top of my head, I was 18 years old. I drew a limited entry bull elk tag with 0 points,
Nice.
and it's
Where, if you
in
don't mind
an
me asking?
what's that?
Where?
Central Mountains.
Oh,
That's
nice.
where I do all my
Manti,
hunting.
Manti or Nebo?
Manti.
Oh, that's where I had my limited tag last year.
Awesome. Yeah, because we have a cabin up Salina Canyon,
Oh,
and
nice.
that's the only place I've honestly really ever hunted until the last 2 years. Because I grew up sorry, I'm getting off track, but I grew up just doing the spike elk hunt and the
Uh huh.
deer hunt.
Yeah, yeah.
And dude, I didn't know about over the counter units. I didn't know about that you could actually go hunt other places, like
Yeah, yeah.
that's just what my family did and that's what I did. And it's only been the last couple of years where I've actually just branched out a little bit more. There's definitely a lot more branching out I want to do. But anyway, sorry, got off topic.
No, no, it's
But
fine. I did that to you, so.
yeah, no, you're good. So I drew out and I was going to Slick at the time, and so I was only hunting on the weekends. And I had opportunities at bulls. I shot, and if I was a good shot, I'd have some killer stuff. But I suck at shooting. Like I do. I can say that honestly. I suck at shooting. I get buck fever, man. Like I'm just sitting there shaking whenever I see something with horns, and so uh, I missed two nice bulls. I would say 340, 350 class. And my dad was even giving me shit for it. He's like, dude, there's bigger bulls in here. He's like, you want to kill that? I'm like, hell yeah, I want to kill that. Look at that thing. And so it's the second last day of the hunt, and it is an absolute downpour.
Uh-huh.
And we're about 5 miles away from our truck, And I come up on this sagebrush bench, and just down below me, I see. If I look back at it now, and I'm much better at scoring now than I was back in the day,
Uh-huh.
it's a 380 bull all day. Like,
Jeez.
just the most darkest antlers, ivory tips, just the dream bull in my mind.
Right.
And I'm just sitting there watching him for about good 10 minutes, and I could have shot him at 50 yards 1,000 times, and I just wanted my dad to be there. And he came over the hill, and his ass stepped on a stick, and boom. And I was just like, oh my gosh, dude, you don't know what you just did. And he's like, well, why didn't you shoot it? And I was like, well, you were sitting here telling me, like, don't shoot this one, don't shoot this one. I wanted your approval. He's
Oh
like, no,
God.
if it's that big, what are you doing? And I'm like, well, sorry. So we tracked these, elk back down, and I have a little window in these pines, thick pines. And we saw the big bull go in first, and my dad's all, okay, first bull out, you pull the trigger. First bull out, I just saw horns, I pulled the trigger. And we're all psyched, high-fiving and stuff, and then we start walking over, and it only went 30 yards and died. And walked over, I looked down to my right, and there's the big bull standing there. I'm like, what the, like looking around, like, what happened? And I can see what I had shot, and I shot a 5-point little rag. And so at first I was disappointed, but then
Right.
and then I did walk up, and I did have to put another bullet in him, but just seeing him expire right in front of my eyes, and like that whole experience, and being with my dad in an absolute downpour, and we did it. We accomplished our goal, and I shot my very first branch antlered bull, and to me that's what it's all about. I was there with my old man, and somebody that I look up to and respect, and I've hunted every year of my life with, and the fact that he got to see me take my first big game, well, my first big elk per
Right.
se, dude, that's the best feeling in the world. And to me, that was
That's
the
awesome.
ultimate. So yeah, definitely that's probably one of my most favorite, most memorable memories is shooting my first big bull up at the cabin and sharing it with my family, and it was awesome.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I really your view on everything is infectious, man. I can hang out with you. You're a cool kid. I like it.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah. No, seriously. That's a good story, and I've been there myself. Unfortunately, I didn't take it quite as good as you did, but I've done that before. I've done it with deer. Um, yeah, I've told this story a couple times on the podcast. I was hunting whitetail in Illinois. Um, Two bucks were chasing a doe, and they kind of went behind me, and then the doe I hit a can call, and the doe came swinging back around. And when they went in, the big buck was right behind the doe, and the small buck was trailing. When they came out, the smaller buck was right behind the doe, and I just saw fur and let it go.
Yeah.
I mean, he wasn't a tiny buck, but he wasn't a 160-inch buck that I was trying to shoot. Yeah. So no, I know the feeling. I
Yeah.
was
Well,
I was really
so
embarrassed actually more than anything because
yeah.
I was already a quote unquote pro at that point in my life when that happened. So
But I
yeah,
bet you learned from it though too, though.
no, I didn't. I didn't learn shit. I still shoot the same way. I never look at horns. I never look at antlers when I'm shooting a deer or elk for that matter. Um, I get very get tunnel vision, and it works out for me in a lot of ways because I don't usually miss shots, and I don't get buck fever, but I have hit the occasional branch because of it, and
Yeah.
I have made one or two mistakes shooting the
See,
wrong
and that's
wrong
that's
game.
another thing I want to get into is archery. I've only been a rifle hunter my whole life. I've never
Oh
had a
man,
bow in hand on a hunt, and I hope to change that this year. I definitely want to get into archery because I've been on hunts with friends in archery,
right?
and just oh my goodness, like being within even 100 yards and you're not
Yeah.
pulling back. It's like, shoot it,
Yeah.
and I'm freaking out, and because you could have shot it 1,000 times with a gun, but with the bow, like how intense it is and how just so many factors go into archery.
Oh
It
yeah.
blows my mind, and I've never been able to experience that for myself, but I definitely want to. That's
Don't
definitely
wait,
a
man.
goal of mine.
Don't
What's
wait,
that?
just do it. I said
Yeah,
don't wait, just do it.
yeah, exactly, for
Cool,
sure.
man. Well, I want to thank you for taking the time and coming on and sharing knowledge with us. And like I said, just keep doing what you're doing. You're doing a
Dude,
good
no,
job. I like
just
your I like your attitude.
oh, thank you. But
No,
no, thank you, man. Like this was an awesome first time experience, and I could do a couple more podcasts for sure.
there you go.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure some people will ask you to be on on other podcasts pretty soon.
I don't know about that, but that'd be awesome.
No, it will. Trust me. It will.
Well,
It
thank
happens.
you, man. I
All right.
appreciate it.
Have a good one.
Hey, you too, bud.